waiting on the high side.
It's
The sign from light.
steel bunt. Hit and run. Hit and run.
Let's hopefully have video on that part of it at least. We're good? New York State Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 109-A provides that the Gaming Facility Location Board shall consist of 5 members appointed by the New York State Gaming Commission. The statute further specifically indicates that the board shall be able to undertake its assignments upon the seating of 3 members. 3 members have been appointed by the Gaming Commission, which affords the board the ability to establish a quorum and undertake action. This present meeting of the board is now called to order. Establishment of a quorum requires 3 members be present. Please indicate your presence when your name is called. Paul Francis.
Present.
Stuart Rubinowitz.
Present.
William C. Thompson, Jr.
Present.
Quorum being established, we move on to business. The Commission has the authority to designate a chair from among sitting board members. No such designation has occurred, thus the board should select 1 member to act as presiding officer for the purposes of this meeting. Gentlemen, would you like to select a presiding officer for the purposes of this meeting?
I would nominate Paul Francis to be the presiding officer for this meeting.
By acclamation.
Thank you.
Mr. Francis.
Okay, thank you. Thanks to the members of the public who are here today, and thanks to those who are listening in. This will be a short meeting today as we approve the minimum capital investments and a few other housekeeping items. The first of those is the minutes of the board meeting conducted on March 31st, 2014. These have been provided to the members in advance. I'd like to ask if there are any edits, corrections, or amendments. If not, please have the record reflect that the minutes are accepted as circulated. Rob, what's the first item today?
New York State Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 1306.9 authorizes the board to promulgate rules and regulations that it deems necessary to carry out its responsibilities. To that regard, the board will, from time to time, promulgate rules and rule amendments pursuant to the State Administrative Procedures Act. Items 4 and 5 are companion pieces. Item 4 is an extension of an emergency rulemaking for determination of commercial casino licensing fee and conduct of hearing, first adopted by the board on March 31st, 2014. This emergency rule was published in the New York State Register on April 16th, 2014. New York's emergency rulemaking process allows adoption of a rule on a temporary basis for a maximum of 90 days. An emergency rule may be readopted, but each such readoption will be effective for a maximum of 60 days. To file readoption, action must be initiated to formally adopt the rule on a permanent basis. Thus, item 5 is proposed rulemaking for the determination of commercial casino license fee and conduct of hearings. In short, the emergency rule and proposed rule contains a determination of Zone 2 commercial licensing fees by region and rules that will govern hearing procedures.
Commissioners, are there any questions on the readoption of the or the permanent regulations? If not, may I have a motion to adopt the emergency rulemaking?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
Well, we did discuss these in detail in March.
Yes, that's right. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And may I have a motion to adopt the permanent rulemaking?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Rob, please call the next item.
Certainly. Items 6 and 7 are also companion pieces, both relative to the establishment of minimum capital investment for gaming facilities by zone and region. Emergency rulemaking is necessary to allow the board to issue standards today. New York law permits the adoption of both emergency rules and proposed rules to occur at the same time. Therefore, for the board's consideration is a proposed emergency rulemaking and proposed rulemaking that contains a determination of Zone 2 commercial casino minimum capital investments.
Okay, so to provide some background in determining the minimum capital investment, the board has reviewed data on recently constructed and proposed gaming facilities in various states, including Massachusetts, Maryland, and Ohio. The in-state developments of various Native American gaming facilities were also considered. This data included the nearby adult population, estimated total investment, and where applicable, required minimum investment in such gaming facilities. The board also reviewed economic and financial inputs with our consultants that were developed based on estimated gross gaming revenues for likely gaming facility locations and accepted industry operating margins, debt-to-equity ratios, and rates of return. We observed in talking to these experts that there is a wide range of market comparables for both the total investment and the required minimum investment in gaming facilities due to a range of factors. These include site-specific issues, issues driven by gaming developers' ability to create amenities and features that will have a wide appeal and can successfully be marketed as a destination to populations that have a high average disposable income. Ultimately, our determination of the minimum capital investment numbers was influenced by our desire to balance the goal of encouraging competition in order to preserve the integrity of the selection process with the goal of maximizing economic benefits to the state. Given that all public indications are that there will be several bidders in each region, we assume that market forces will ultimately guide the amount of bidder capital investments. The minimum capital investment standard established by the RFA was intended to reflect the fact that some parts of the total investment do not create the type of economic development benefits that the statute is intended to foster. So these were treated as excluded investments in the calculation of the minimum capital investment. Our expert consultants have advised us that these excluded investments, which include the licensing fee, land, financing costs, and certain startup expenses, typically constitute about 35% of the total investment in a new development of this type. In other words, the minimum capital investment levels we are establishing are approximately 65% of the total investment that developers are expected to make. Commissioners, are there any questions on the proposed emergency or permanent regulations as they relate to the minimum capital investments? No. Is there a motion?
Motion made to adopt the I guess at this point the emergency rulemaking.
Okay.
Second.
May I have a separate motion to adopt that is adopted? May I have a separate motion to adopt the permanent rulemaking?
Motion to adopt the permanent rulemaking.
Any
Second.
discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Rob, please call the final item.
The final item today regards an amendment to the RFA language regarding minority and women-owned business enterprises. The draft language simply expands upon the original language of the RFA, giving additional context and structure as to what is expected of a successful applicant. The three sections amended are affirmative action plan, job opportunities and training for the underemployed, and experience with hiring the unemployed.
Okay. May I have a motion to accept this amendment?
I'm going to make the motion, and before I, just before I do that, let me thank Rob for the work that was done on this. I brought this up at the last meeting and asked that that follow-up be done, and I like the language, and so I'd like to just say thank you for the work that you put into that. And I know you've reached out to a few people. Job well done.
Very good.
So I'd like to make that motion.
I second the motion, and I second the comments that were made. And thank you.
Very, very good. All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Now, Rob, before we adjourn, would you describe how the actual numbers of the minimum capital investment will be disclosed and made public? Do you want to read them off? How do you wanna
Actually, I think it
handle
would probably be more sensible if I just explain what we're
Yeah,
going to be
very
doing
good.
with them.
Very good.
We have a document that we put together. Well, first of all, there's two different elements for disclosure. It's going to be within rulemaking itself, as you guys are aware. That's the proposed Rule 602.1, which Ed will ensure gets filed later today with the Department of State. That explains each of the different levels of capital investment that's necessary. We are also putting out a short determination of minimum capital investment guideline, which will be posted to the Gaming Facility Location Board's webpage that's hosted on the Gaming Commission's website. That will basically explain what goes into it and then also break it down by each different region as to what is anticipated. There's an additional supplemental sheet that's attached to that at the back that determines or cleanly lists the minimum capital investment, the implied total investment, and the total investment that would be necessary as a minimum.
Okay.
That will be posted today.
That will be posted, and, I think, is there a reason, Rob, we would not want to just read those now, just so we're clear?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because it's a complicated thing,
Okay.
that I don't think it's
Very good.
It's a good idea. But
Yeah.
we will also email that to all of our individuals that are on our mailing list and have indicated interest, which includes the press listings as well.
Okay, very
As
good.
well as, it's going to be posted today. It would be good if we could give people an indication of what time that may be up.
Right.
You posted.
The guidance.
Guidance document within the hour.
Okay.
Within the hour, very good. Well, that concludes today's published agenda. Are there any additional items you would like to present for consideration?
No, just comment again. I think that the one staple so far has been Paul's involvement and the work that you put in. And as a member of this body, thank you again. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for the work that you've done. I know that I've spoken to people who I know you've spoken to or about to. Just indicating how much time you put in this. So thanks.
Well, thank you very much for that comment.
I second that.
And let me just note that the bids are due on June 30th. This is still very much a preliminary phase. Once the bids are made on June 30th, they'll be reviewed. There will be a public outreach process that begins right after Labor Day for community input. And there will also be presentations by all of the bidders in a public forum. So with that, there being no further business, I declare this meeting of the Location Board adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.